Hi guys, welcome to the Cauldron tutorial. We're going to use a very simple tool and a couple of primitives to create this cauldron. You want to start off by deleting the default sphere, and we're going to select the lathe tool. And on the left menu on the left side you want path selected, nothing else. So we've got lathe and path, and this is going to allow us to draw the outer profile and inner profile of our cauldron. If you need to get some cauldron references up on Google, we're going to start off just drawing our line from the center. You can add new spline points into the line just by tapping on it, and you can remove those spline points simply by dragging them over another one. The lathe tool is incredibly handy for drawing cylindrical objects, getting that forming really quickly. Creating solid forms and hollowed out forms. So again, I'm just bringing both the bottom of the cylinder, which will be our cauldron, and the top, and then I'm going to create the profile. If you click the green dot, that will validate the lathe, which we'll see again after I draw the actual cauldron profile. So here we go, we're going to start drawing a line out, and we're going to add spline points in that line just simply by tapping anywhere on that line and dragging out. The yellow line indicates the symmetry point, and everything will be mirrored to the left of that line. If you tap a spline point, you can create a sharp point rather than a curved point. So if you want a nice flat bottom, you can easily do that just by tapping the line on the bottom there. And here I am, just drawing out a form for what I think will be a cool cylinder, a cool cauldron. I keep saying cylinder. And you can see we've just got basically half of a cauldron very quickly, just by simply moving these points, looking for that form. We're not locked into anything at this point. We can change it. Even after clicking the green confirm button, we are still able to change our profile. So don't be too concerned at this point. Everything can be undone, everything can be changed. There you can see I've hit the green confirm. Before validating now, I can still work this spline. So as you see, I can adjust these points and it will adjust the form in real time. So if I want to make any amendments, you want to make any amendments to your cauldron, you can do them now at this point. You can change the lip, accentuate the lip, and just get that cauldron form that you're looking for. Whether this be for 3D printing or just for scene creation, asset creation. And the cool thing with the lathe tool is not only can you create the outer profile, but you can create the inner profile. So I'm going to take the top of the line, I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to draw inside to create the inner profile, just like we did with the outer with the same line. And that's going to allow me to create a hollowed out cauldron, and this works well for vases, for bottles, cups, anything cylindrical that you wish to hollow out. It's a really cool tool. Now you can see I'm just working that inner profile. It's not imperative, I don't plan to print this one, so the width of the walls don't really matter too greatly. I'm just looking for an aesthetic. I'll just quickly save. But yeah, you can see now we've got an inner profile and an outer profile. So all through this adjustment of the inner profile, I've not touched the outer whatsoever. Now you can see we've got a nice hollowed out cauldron, just with one simple line. Again, before I hit validate, I can continue to refine this shape, looking for that form that I require. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. And this is a really a really basic beginner level tutorial. I do plan on releasing an intermediate version of this with some extra details, including the fire, some extra details on the cauldron. But this is just going to be a cauldron and some bubbling stew or soup or potion, whatever you wish to call it. And there we go. You can see I'm just working the outside form a little bit more now and then matching the inside form. But again, this has all been created with just one single line in the lathe tool. Now I've validated it, I'm happy with the form. You can play around a little bit more, try find that shape you're looking for. Then I'm going to quickly paint it, so I'm going to hit the paintbrush on top right. Looks like a grey colour. I want it quite rough, I don't want it shiny, I want it quite matte. If I turn the metalness up it'll be reflective and shiny, but I want it to be quite matte. I'm just going to hit paint all. And now we've got our cauldron base. It's quite low poly at this point, so you can go over to the multi-res menu and hit subdivide once, just increase the resolution. It'll look a bit smoother. Now I'm going to add a cylinder in from the primitive menu, and this is going to be the base for our portion. So I'm just going to scale it down using the gizmo, get it into position, and I'm just looking to fill the top of my cauldron. I don't need to fill the entire thing because we're only going to be seeing the top. I'm just going to scale it up so it matches the rim and position it where I think the top of my portion will be. And once you're happy with the size and position, you just work that in. You can hit validate, and then we're going to create some bubbling mass on the top. We want to look like this is actually bubbling, as if it's been boiled in the cauldron. And all we're going to do is go to the primitive menu, add in a sphere, and all these bubbles are going to be created from the same sphere. We're just going to use the gizmo tool to scale it down, position it, then each bubble will just be cloned off the original one, and I'm just going to move it around using the gizmo tool to create sort of a bubbling potion or a bubbling soup or bubbling stew. So yeah, just using the gizmo tool. Once I'm happy with that position, hit clone, move, scale, position, check from a few different angles, hit clone again, move, and you're just going to repeat this over and over until you get the desired effect that you're looking for in terms of the mixture bubbling inside your pot or your cauldron. So yeah, just again, cloning, scaling, moving. And again, there's no real correct method. Just as long as this way looks good, as long as it looks good to you, that's all that matters. And we're just going to create these across the surface until we've got a nice bubbled texture. And we're also going to use some of these spheres to create some floating bubbles to give us a little bit more animation in the scene. But yeah, I'm just going to keep cloning, keep moving. You can use as many of these or as few of these spheres as you want to attain the look. I think we're kind of getting there. It's looking kind of good. And again, there's plenty of references of cauldrons you can view on your favourite search engine. And just take some inspiration from them. I find it's simple enough just to check it from a couple of different angles to see if it looks like what you're trying to convey. So once we're happy with the surface ones, I'm going to clone again, and we're going to use some of these spheres to create some floating bubbles above the soup or the stew or the portion. And again, I'm imagining the floating ones will be a little bit smaller than the ones on the top, so shrink them down a little bit. Remember to do them on multiple planes, because we don't want them all on the same plane. So I'm going to move these backwards and around, just to give the illusion that these things are sort of steaming off the portion. Again, all this portion has been made from one cylinder and one sphere. Essentially, we're just cloning all the spheres. Hopefully you're keeping up with me. I've tried to keep it slow and as basic as I can, but if you need to go back, feel free to just skip back if you've missed anything or want to clarify anything. I'm open to critique as well, so if there's anything you need me to amend, anything you think I can improve on, drop it down in the comments, let me know. I'm trying to create like really basic tutorials. Now I'm going to select all the spheres in my object list, because all those spheres are part of the portion. So I've selected them all. Once they're all selected, I'm going to hit Boolean in that same menu. Hit Boolean again. Now all those spheres are merged. They're all part of the same portion, so we can make them as one object. We're not really going to do anything to them. And now we're going to select the sphere and the cylinder, which is also part of our portion. We're going to do the same. Boolean, Boolean, done. Now that object is just one piece, which is going to allow us to work on it much easier now as we move into the material phase. We can do a really cool thing now, where we go into the material options and I change to additive. So in the material option, switch to additive, and if you hit always unlit, you'll notice it starts to glow. And we can change a few settings around here. So firstly, I'm going to go to the paint menu and I'm going to select the paint of my portion. I'm going to choose like your typical toxic green, sludge, Halloween green, and then paint all. Now we've got a transparent portion. We can play around with some of the settings in the material. We can change the opacity. Set that to 120, but you can set this to whatever you want to. Reflectance at this stage doesn't really do anything. We can leave all the settings the same. And then we're going to go to post-process, turn post-processing on. And I don't know if you noticed, but I forgot to turn always unlit back on. We're going to increase the intensity of the bloom, which currently is not doing anything because I've not checked the always unlit. So I'm going to realise my mistake. I'm wondering why this is not doing anything. I go back to the material, and it's because I've not selected always unlit. So in yours, you want to make sure you select always unlit, which is just above that opacity slider. It's going to give you a more intense glow. You can change anything in your scene. You could change your environment, your background. And here's me trying to work out why my intensity is not changing, how bright this is. But in yours, you're going to select always unlit, and it's going to be really bright and vibrant. And pretty much that's all there is to it. You can keep playing with these settings. Again, I'm still trying to figure out why mine is not glowing the way I want it to. So I think eventually I reset these back to standard. Or maybe I got it to a point that looks okay. Looks like a glowing potion in a cauldron. I say this is really basic beginner tutorial. So I am going to include an intermediate, which I will link down below once I've uploaded it, where I will add some more details to the cauldron. I'll add fire under the cauldron and maybe some green mist, some green steam coming off the potion. Yeah, I wanted to keep this really basic and really simple. Spooky season's just round the corner, so perfect to learn these kind of things, ready to create your Halloween scenes or your Halloween models that you might wish to print out. And yet, I'm still wondering, why is mine not glowing the way I desire it to? And this is me starting out demonstrating what we'll show in the next tutorial. You can simply add some handles. You can make it as basic as adding a torus. Just adding that to the outside wall of the cauldron. Just using gizmo to scale and position. Just adding these little details gives the cauldron some more character and makes it a little bit more understandable for the viewer. A little bit more recognisable. I'm going to paint those torus after mirroring it the same colour as the cauldron. I'm going to add a sphere in and use this as a little central fixing attachment for the handle, the little hinge portion. Again, just using gizmo to scale and position. Once I'm happy with the position, I'm just going to use the mirror function and mirror it over to the right side. I painted it first that time, but I'm just going to mirror it over. It don't matter if you do either way before, they'll both paint at the same time. And there you go, just as simply as that, we've got two handles on the cauldron. Just makes it a little bit more recognisable. I'll say in the next iteration of this tutorial, the intermediate one, we're going to add fire, legs to the cauldron. We're going to add some steam coming up out of the soup, or the stew, or the potion. Maybe a ladle. And there you have it. As simple as that. Now hopefully yours looks something similar, or very close to. And if you post your version of the model to social media, I'd love to see it, so please tag me at Nomad Sculpt on any and all social media. And we'll catch you in the next one. Please hit the subscribe and the like, and peace out.